Hey, Roger, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Yeah, tell us who you are, what you do.
My name is Roger Nairn. I'm the co-founder and CEO of JAR Podcast Solutions. JAR is the world's biggest and best podcast brand. Sorry, can we start that again? Sorry about that. Jesus.
Yeah, no problem. We'll just do that, maybe.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the funny part is, we should leave it in, honestly.
No, please.
Just to let people know, be like, even the experts mess it up.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, tell us who you are, what you do.
Hey, Jason, my name is Roger Nairn. I'm the co-founder and CEO of JAR Podcast Solutions. We are a podcast agency that works exclusively with brands, based in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and lead a team of 25.
Cool. Yes, you got it right the second time.
Even the pros.
And this is your job too. That's even
exactly
better.
Yeah.
Well, we all have those brain farts, right?
Oh, for sure.
Kind of like something distracts. The other day I was on a podcast, and I live out in the middle of nowhere on a mountain, and I was just looking out the window, and I'm like, "Holy crap, that's a bear!"
During the conversation.
Yeah, and I was like, "I'm so sorry." Like this biggest bear just walked straight across.
Man, we need way more bear content in our shows.
Yeah, well, we could have had it a little while ago. I heard my wife yelling at my dog, who's a German Shepherd, and she's like, "Aspen, get back!" And she was about to chase a bear cub that was at the pond. I was like, wow. Oh crap. So there's all the bear content. Let's see if we go viral.
See, I live by the beach in Vancouver, so I might occasionally see a naked guy smoking a joint out my window.
That's horrible. I would never.
Different.
you made it where I never want to go. I'm just gonna picture Vancouver as a naked old guy smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
You're a good spokesperson for Vancouver.
Hey, you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Every big city has its interesting characters.
Yeah. Tell us how did you start the agency?
Yeah, that's actually a cool story. So I came from the advertising agency world myself. I spent 22 plus years working with DDB and Cossette, global award-winning agencies. I loved advertising. I think, the agency life and the culture and environment was just incredible. But I actually started to fall out of love with actual advertising. At the time, programmatic advertising was coming in. Clients were just like nose-diving budgets. It was a race to the bottom. And it was around that time that I started podcasting myself just as a hobby. I was interviewing some of the coolest people in the world, like Seth Godin and Stefan Sagmeister, just because I wanted to meet them, frankly. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I met my two partners and we started sitting down and just kind of chatting about what it would be like working together that we landed on this idea of starting a podcast agency. And I tried to start businesses in the past, but to be honest, I really didn't start them. I just kind of I would spend like a year thinking about what we should call it, or 6 months designing the business cards. Meanwhile, I wasn't building a business plan. And I think a lot of it was just fear. I didn't really want to actually start the business. So I said to these guys, listen, I've done this before. I've gone down this road. Here's the thing. I'm just going to put just the tiniest little suggestion out into the world and see if this is of any interest. And if it is, we'll just go baby steps. And they all agreed. And actually that night we were in a bar when this all happened. That night I went home. It was a Thursday night. Oh, sorry. It was a Sunday night. Went home. I sent out 10 messages to folks on LinkedIn. The second guy to respond said, this is of no interest to me, but it is to my wife. Would you like to meet her? So her and I jumped on some email back and forth. Turns out she was the head of digital marketing for the world's largest aromatherapy brand, which is called Sage. And she said, this is a Sunday. She said, can you be in my office on Thursday? And I said, yeah, sure. Not knowing really what we were or anything. And so we showed up on Thursday, sat in a boardroom for a couple hours, really started talking about what a podcast could be for this brand, who their audience is. Next thing you know, they asked for an estimate. And next thing you know, we're signing a deal. And literally that was the seed money that got us started. Our second client was Lululemon. Our third client was Expedia. And from there, we were just off to the races.
So what kind of podcasts did these big brands want?
Yeah.
And the funny part too is when you were like the world's largest thing for Sage, I was thinking you were going to be like the world's largest ball of twine. I don't know why I was thinking of that, but
yeah, totally. Well, Sage has got an audience that is interested in wellness. They're also interested in what they would describe as sort of taking control of your own health versus relying on doctors and sort of the medical system. And so we crafted a show for them called Well Now. It was all about really taking control of your life and health, and really interesting interviews with a ton of different folks with either different ailments or from different backgrounds, different experience. The show was on for 2 or 3 years. When we launched, we were one of the top podcasts in the health and wellness section of Apple Podcasts. We were even beating Oprah for a while. I mean, she had it coming.
Take that, Oprah.
Exactly. So we really crafted a show that was meant for their audience. It had nothing to do with the brand. It was just brought to them by the brand. It was like, here's a gift from us. It's not going to cost you anything. It's a great listen. And oh, by the way, we're Sage. This is what we do. And that part of it had no part of the show itself. It was really about, them as the giver.
Mm-hmm. What have you found works well for getting more reach for a podcast? Right? Like,
yeah,
because anybody can create a podcast. I created this thing 11 years ago. I still can't believe we've never missed a week in 11 years. It's kind of crazy. I didn't even know what amazing. A podcast was when I recorded the first one.
You're not alone. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, just, talking about yourself is your audience. You know exactly who your audience is. Who they are, where they are, what they need. I think that's the biggest piece, is like, what do they need out of a podcast? And then you, as the expert, then deliver on that need. So in the case of Sage, they knew that their audience was looking for alternative solutions to their health. They understood that there was, because we did the research for them, there was no other podcast out there doing this. And then we kind of pivoted back to the brand and said, okay, based on, the need of your audience, what can you and only you deliver on? And so really understanding who your audience is first is the biggest piece. Second is crafting a great show and being consistent with it. You just said in 11 years, you haven't missed a week. That's incredible. That's consistency. You've essentially, made a deal with your audience, and they've, signed on via subscribing, and they know consistently that you're going to show up week to week with great content. And it's the same with any brand that, launches a show. And then there's the actual, promotion side of it. So organic reach being a huge one. I'm sure you have seen over those 11 years that the podcast industry is still incredibly friendly, incredibly gracious to one another. So actually, a big way of growing a show is to strike some deals with other podcasts where you're essentially sharing audiences. Maybe you're going on their show as a guest in exchange for their host coming on your show as a guest. And then there's the other little tips and tricks, like promoting or pitching your show to Apple Podcasts and getting them to feature it. There's the actual merchandising of the show itself, so artwork and description, and making sure you're hitting all the the algorithms with YouTube and whatnot. That's the organic side, and then we can also go into the other forms of growing your show. But honestly, the biggest tip is always just create great content and being consistent with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when I think about how many times I've told people creating a podcast for our business was the number one thing we've ever done to build the business.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's because that's you, right? And they didn't see the hard work, or maybe they did see the hard work and they're like, I don't want to do it. And then a lot of the people we work with, maybe 2 or 3 years later, they keep hearing the members going, hey, I created a podcast. And then a year later, they're like, 300% growth. And they're like, oh, maybe I can do that. And they finally do it. And they're like, God, I wish I listened to you guys years ago. I'd be so much further. I'm like, well, listen to us now. Like, just because you didn't plant the tree 3 years ago when it was the best time,
totally,
today is the best time to do it. And it just takes time, because I think people have imposter syndrome. We were talking a little bit about this on the pre-show. And then we also compare ourselves to the biggest podcasts in the world, like the Joe Rogans or the New Heights and the Kelsey brothers. And we're like, we have to have something like that. I'm like, no. You just, and honestly, I only want to be famous in a very small portion. And I'm not saying famous, like just known
No,
versus known throughout the whole world. Like that's got to be miserable to be like a Tom Cruise. Like
for
you're
sure.
hiding.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions with a podcast and brands is that you're going to get success right away. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it can happen, but it's not. I would never feel confident telling a client that it's going to happen right away. It's also not going to build your business right away.
Yeah.
And I would also be the first to tell a brand that. In fact, I tell it to them daily because a lot of them expect it to happen. At the end of the day, you have to build an audience, and building an audience takes time and effort and great content and consistent content. There are agencies and different tools out there that can tell you, I can get you 100,000 downloads, or I can get you 100,000 listens and all this sort of stuff. And they can, however, if you look behind the scenes on what's actually happening, yes, you're getting 10,000 listens, but they're only listening for 10, 15 seconds. And actually, if we want to get into the weeds of that, what's actually really happening is that the company they're working with is promoting. They're actually going on to like gaming channels, where kids are playing video games, and there will be an ad that pops up and says, click on this button to receive 100,000 or 100 free tokens, or whatever game they're playing. They'll click on that button and they'll be asked to listen to a podcast. And as soon as they listen to that podcast, they'll get their 100 coins. But they're only listening for 10 or 15 seconds. And in the foreground, the client thinks that they have a new listener. The reality is they have a 15-year-old kid who just wanted his 100 coins. And so it's sort of the equivalent of juicing in baseball. It looks good. It's great. It's entertaining for them.
It's vanity metrics. Yeah.
But it's empty calories, right?
Yeah, when I look at our stats for our podcast, 95% of the listeners listen the whole way through.
Yeah, man, that's great. Right? And we're the same way. We focus on consumption as well as our number one metric. And our goal is to aim for 80 to 85%. And from a brand perspective, we're reporting back to, we just reported back to Amazon the other day that every month, I mean, they do a bi-weekly show. So yours is weekly. Theirs is bi-weekly. Every month, their audience, each member is spending over 2 hours listening to the show, which is 2 hours spent with the brand, which I dare you to show me any other vehicle out there in marketing that will give you the same thing. Maybe if you lock somebody in a conference room for a couple days, but even then, that's not the same.
So I'm curious, and I'll give you what our podcast is: audio and also video.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on why audio gets so much better retention and more downloads than video?
Yeah,
because there's people that do both.
Yeah, there is people that do. In fact, there's just some research that came out which says that they do both. That's what the majority of people are doing. So the reason audio gets better retention is because of the intimacy of it. I mean, we're not, I'm not listening to your podcast right now. I'm listening to my interview with you. However, let's pretend I'm listening to your show. You're literally whispering in my ear for 35, 45, an hour. There's that aspect to it. Some people listen to podcasts in groups. My wife and I listen in the car, but that's more rare than it's my time. It's personal time. There's that aspect to it. Also, when on the flip side, when you watch on video, you're a lot of times distracted doing other things. It's sort of it's the equivalent of how people used to watch TV and be on YouTube at the same time. It still happens, except it will happen with, you're streaming a baseball game on TV while on YouTube. Here's the other thing though, that I don't think is being talked enough about in the industry, video. Clearly, YouTube is clearly very, very popular right now when it comes to its attention around podcasts. Clearly, people are consuming podcasts via YouTube, What I've yet to see true data on is how much are they actually watching the podcast on YouTube? Because if I have YouTube Premium, I can be listening to that show in my pocket. I can never look at the screen. Or I could be writing an essay if I'm a student and I have the podcast on another tab, but I'm still not watching. And the reason I say this is as somebody who works with clients on, spending budget making shows, if I'm the CMO of American Express and I don't truly know whether someone's going to watch this thing, how do I feel confident, spending X amount of dollars on the production of a video podcast? I mean, you could argue that yes, you have to make some sort of video podcast in order to be there, but as far as like the amount of like just production effort that could go into it, that's a big question mark still.
Yeah, I look at it as, so our listenership and retention for audio is through the roof, like 100 times better than on the video. And here's my opinion on it is you can be doing other things, driving in a car, like you mentioned, working out, right? And going through that versus a video. And here's, so like a podcast like ours, and maybe, your personal podcast, I would probably never watch on video. I'd probably get hooked in on a micro short, and then I would never watch like the two talking heads just for me, because we're not famous, nothing against you or me. But before this, and before I was chasing down my wife and dog for chasing a little bear cub, I was watching the New Heights podcast on my big TV on YouTube because they're famous. They're probably a little bit more interesting than me. Right?
Was Taylor on it?
Yes, that one. Of course,
totally.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, and you're going to want to watch that celebrity moment there, right?
Exactly. And same thing with like Joe Rogan. But and I'll watch it all, but I won't watch it all in one sit down, because watching something for 3 hours, my ass is going to fall asleep. Like I just can't do it.
Yeah. Which is why the new research that's coming, that has just come out, shows that people will switch. They'll switch their show throughout the day. You might start watching New Heights on your TV, but then go to the gym and pick it up on, Spotify or whatever you use for audio. You totally nailed it. That is the other aspect, is the portability of audio and the ability to listen on the go. It's why business executives, for example, over-index on audio listening, because
they're traveling.
They're running through airports. They're driving to work. They're at the gym. It's a huge aspect of it. And actually, interestingly, from a brand perspective, there was some research that came out from the BBC that showed that if you have brand messaging in a podcast and it's being listened to, when you're doing other things while listening to the show, it does something to the brain where it activates a lot more of a connection between you and whatever that brand message is, or whatever the brand is that you're hearing from.
Yeah, and most, going back to consistency too, I think that's the biggest thing for podcasters. And really think of yourself as a podcaster. Like when people ask me what I do, I say I'm a podcaster. Versus coach or whatever stupid thing that people say. I always hate that question. What do you do? I always kind of fuck with them a little bit. I'm like, I'm a horse jockey, and I'm a 6'3", 230-pound horse jockey.
Yeah, totally.
It's a big fucking horse.
I like to say I'm the director of keeping it real.
That's it, right? I'm a yoga instructor. That's exactly what I should say. We're a fitness model.
Exactly. Yeah. I got Lululemon's headquarters down the street from me. There's yoga instructors, as far as I can see. Are they the ones
with the yoga pants? Are they the ones that came up with the yoga pants?
The yoga pants, yes.
Favorite company. Not because I wear them. So.
They're looking for testers, by the way.
No, there is no testing in this old machine body. So.
Yeah.
But I think, I have people that jump into our mastermind years from listening to the podcast. Like whenever anybody jumps in, we always ask them 2 questions. Why did you jump in? And what are you most excited to learn? And they're like, I've been listening to the show for years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it creates a very intimate relationship.
Oh, for sure.
That was very weird for me at first, because people are like, I know your dog's name. I know what you do. Like, cause I mentioned personal things, which I feel too makes a show better. Like you bring in your personality. You don't have to, portray someone that you're not. Like when I first started, I thought I was going to be like Gary V. And so I would try to be like that, like hustle.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, there's the vulnerability aspect to it. You're just being yourself, and it's not like the antiseptic Hollywood style of, filming a TV show or a film, and it's got to be perfect. And the audience expects a little bit of roughness to it, because what they really want is you, and you being the host that's consistent, coming to you every week and being yourself. They've gotten to know you over those years. So when they see you, it makes a ton of sense. It's like seeing a friend.
Yeah.
And then you as the friend consistently deliver value to them, bringing on great guests, talking about stories, exploring different topics, but also being vulnerable about mistakes you've made or things you've done. And same goes with with the guests as well. It creates that sort of symbiotic relationship. And then there's the extra factor, which is sort of the community side of it. So, you have your different training programs and your playbook and all that sort of stuff, which is incredible. And it seems so natural to do so, because these people listening to the show want to do more with you. They want to be part of something bigger and connect with more listeners. And I'm sure they also give you feedback on the show, and they give you ideas for guests on the show, and they provide all sorts of thoughts and ideas on how to improve, or what they like more, and things like that. That's I think, and I think that's one of the biggest things that brands don't take advantage of, is the community aspect. Yeah. I'm not saying it always has to be, sell them something else, but even just asking for their feedback, or even just asking to hear from them, is something huge. I mean, there's, again, very few mediums where you can easily do that these days. But a podcast it feels very natural to do so.
Exactly. I do want to ask you kind of the weirdest thing about doing a podcast, or weirdest story that's happened to you. I'll go first so you can think about it.
All right.
I think the weirdest thing for me is I didn't realize a lot of people listen to podcasts at different speeds. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not the fastest talker, even though I'm originally I'm a Long Islander from New York. I used to talk very fast until, like most New Yorkers, moved down to Florida, and the rednecks took me over, and I talk a lot slower. And so I didn't realize people listen to it at different speeds. So a lot of times I would meet them at a conference I went to speaking, or maybe they come to an event that we were hosting, and they'd be like, God, you sound so different. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then, like, it took me a while to figure out that they're listening at 2 times speed.
Hilarious.
So if I'm going at 2 times speeds, I'm like,
you sound like a chipmunk.
Yeah. Like, I sound totally different. Totally. And so they're like, dude, is Jason high? I know he moved to Colorado a couple of years ago. Like, is he smoking dope or something? So that's kind of the weirdest thing I've had. What's your weird story?
It's interesting because I run the company, so I don't do as much of the recording anymore, but I do remember interviewing somebody in their hotel closet. Now, you have to remember that we're always looking for the best audio quality, and oftentimes, and we don't have a studio, we don't use studios. As you know, the technology these days, thanks to things like COVID, provided just way better technology, sound dampening and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes it's not great, and so in this case, this person was in a hotel room. It was one of those sort of modern type hotels that had a lot of, hard surfaces, a lot of echo. And so we convinced them to take all the pillows and blankets off their bed, stuff it in the closet, get in the closet. We weren't recording video, luckily, but we made a little pillow fort for them inside the closet, and they closed the door, and we conducted there, and you would never know. And we didn't actually, say anything. They didn't want us to reveal it. It was different show than yours, where there was just bit of a different audience, and they don't want to know that this guy's recording in a closet. But it worked out great. It's funny in the moment, though.
That's awesome. I am going to share out a picture. I think this will work. Let's see. No, hold on.
Is this the hourglass photo? Oh, no, okay.
Okay.
Oh, no.
So I'm sharing out a photo really quick. So this was the weirdest podcast I've ever done, because when you said the closet, so I was speaking at an event in New York, and I went to these guys, and I basically, one of them, I said, creating a podcast will be the best thing you've ever done for your agency. I'll share one other photo just to give these guys credit. Can you see the photo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
cool.
I think I know these guys.
Okay.
Anyways.
So they come up to me after I've done speaking. They go, dude, I was so motivated and inspired to create a podcast from your speech. We're going to do it. Would you like to be a guest? I said, absolutely. Like, I'll always come on anybody's podcast. And they're like, cool. We're going to go get the equipment, and we're going to go buy the equipment. You're going to be our first guest, and we're going to do it in our hotel room. And I'm like, ooh. I'm like, so I was telling my team, I was like, all right, this is the room I'm going to. So like, they were moving all the tables around. Like, we had to hide the beds, but they bought that equipment and they did the podcast. I hope they're still doing the podcast, but that was, when you told me about the closet, I was like, well, my weirdest one was in a hotel room being someone's first guest. And it's not what you think.
Yeah. And just for the record, if anyone's in a hotel room and they need to record an interview, and they happen to have like there's a lot of couches in hotel rooms these days. Take the couches off the take the cushions off the couch, and build like a little when you were in school, they would sometimes have like little study nooks that you would be in. Two walls with a roof maybe on top. Just build something like that, and it's amazing how well it dampens the sound. Nobody will ever know.
Well, cool. Well, Roger, thanks so much for coming on the show, and for everyone listening, if you guys enjoyed the episode, make sure you like it and share it out. Give us feedback. I'm gonna take Roger's thing of give us feedback of who you would like to see on the show, not because you're pitching a guest. You podcast pitchers out there.
Oh,
like, come on, like
daily. I get 50 of them a day.
It's pretty annoying. I have my canned responses, and they have. I swear to God, those companies use the same company because it's like, hey, where should I leave a review for your cool show?
Right.
I'm like,
where do
anywhere,
you think?
dumbass. And then they'll go, hey, I just wanted to bump this up.
Oh.
And what I used to do, because I didn't realize I was helping out their software tool, I'd be like, I'm just bumping this back down because I hate your pitching.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's the same playbook.
My new tip for anybody out there that feels like they're getting a marketing email, or even on LinkedIn, you probably get a ton of those as well, is just respond with like one word, and it immediately turns off the system, and they have to physically either reconnect you back into the sequence, or they have to manually get back to you as well. But if you just say something like thanks, that usually stops it.
Oh, I didn't think about it. But it also helps out their deliverability.
It does help out their deliverability.
Their email credibility. And if they're that fucking lazy, I don't want to help them out. Now I just go spam.
Fair enough. Yes. Yes.
Cool. So for all those people that pitch their guests to me, don't do it the same way. Come up with something unique.
Totally.
So awesome.
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. And until next time, have a swank day. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you want more content like this, make sure you click on the link on the screen, or check out your most popular podcast platform where the full episode is there. And until next time, have a swank day. What are you doing? Go check it out. Click on the link. I'll see you soon.